Hi everybody, welcome to The Creative Genius. My name is Heidi, Hinda Chadwick, and for this week's episode of an A to Z guide to being a creative genius, we're going to be looking at W for why. Why? This is the most fundamental question to ask ourselves before we start any creative project. It's the ground, if you like, for us to play out on, to have that freedom to explore and express and to improvise. Once we have our why, it's kind of like our intention for what it is that we are doing. When we are very clear with our why, there is this absolute sense of solidity, this unshakable feeling that we're completely and utterly anchored and clear, and there's a sense of this being the truth from which we are then taking action and moving through our creative lives, and will inform every decision that we come across, every choice that we make. So everything will plug back into our original why and intention, and if it doesn't quite fit, then maybe we don't necessarily choose that particular thing. Children love this question of why, don't they? Everything is, yeah, but why? Why? Why is this happening? Why have they done that? Why is it like this? Why? And they're onto something, children, because they're asking from this place of innocence. They're asking from a place of really wanting to understand and to know, and to really see and be open and available to every single aspect of life. They're not yet, bless them, at a place where they've just accepted and taken on board all of the reasons, if you like, for everything that's kind of imposed on us by adults, parents, teachers, schools, society, media, and so on. That place without questioning anything. There is an amazing author who I highly recommend. Her name is Dani Shapiro. She's mainly a memoirist, I can say that word correctly, though she has written an amazing book on writing called Still Writing, which I will post a link down in the description box below. But one of her books, which I highly recommend, is a very, very beautiful, very moving book, is called Devotion. And this is her inquiry, if you like, her response to a question that her son, who was quite young at the time, asked her about, does she believe in God? What is God? And rather than just give this kind of rote answer to this child, she took that, she kind of swallowed, if you like, his question, and decided to explore that truth for herself. She wanted to know her own why. And it took her on the most glorious adventure, and all of these experiences, and led to incredible friendships and collaborations and discoveries about her own life, her family. And even though at the end of the book she didn't come out with this absolute and utter fixed answer, she had this extraordinary, rich, very embodied, very alive experience of that particular question. Highly recommended. And one of the things that I loved, that I took from this book, which I think is imperative, is this idea of living the question. Live the questions. Live your why. So beautiful. And when we do that, what starts to happen is, instead of them being in a place of where we know everything, life continually is open to unfold and to surprises. Yeah, it has this sense of this ebb and this flow, which is creative living. Our why becomes our ground that we are literally moving and playing out on and walking through and improvising through, literally our playground, which is really lovely. And it's very much connected to what we believe in, so it's connected to our values, and also to our sense of living a life of purpose. So I have this funny relationship with that word purpose, and particularly all the different articles and videos and information out there about find your purpose and 10 easy steps. No, that doesn't really sit right with me. In fact, to be honest, it can create an incredible amount of anxiety. Fine if you know your purpose is to be a doctor, a lawyer, a fisherman, a burlesque dancer. If you're so clear about that, then that's fantastic. But for a lot of us, we don't really have a sense of what that might be. So when we have this clear knowing of our why, this becomes our purpose. We live from this place. We live on purpose. It also becomes the way in which we are serving life. Yeah? Almost a kind of, this is why we are here, to explore this question of this particular why that's coming through me. And that's very, very beautiful. And it also means that there is room for everybody's why, for everyone's intention. And it doesn't have to be something absolutely huge, it's going to change the world. What it does, in a way, is it gives us a sense of absolute and utter peacefulness and ease with who we are and our place and belonging and part, if you like, of this giant jigsaw puzzle that is life. When we begin to live from our why, something very interesting happens. It's as if we're plugged in to the spontaneity and serendipity of life. It's a very magnetic place to live from. Strange coincidences begin to happen. We'll meet somebody standing in line somewhere who we just resonate with. Opportunities begin to be presented, seemingly kind of out of nowhere. There is a sense that we're being supported and held by life itself. I love the quote from Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist book. Something like, as soon as you say yes to life, when you're following your dream, following your why, the whole universe conspires to help you. And I absolutely and utterly believe that, and have seen that happen and experienced that happen in my own life more and more as I am listening to and following my why. So you could say that our why is our fuel. It's the driving force behind our actions and creations and desires and manifestations, into really kind of bringing them into life, into taking the appropriate steps and actions towards that which is really calling us from within. And it doesn't matter what that is. And our creative fuel this is a fascinating place, because we're all fueled by something. We're all fueled by something. And sometimes that fuel is fear. We might suddenly realize, oh my goodness, we're actually making choices from fear in our life. Or perhaps our fuel is anger or a sense of righteousness. I mean, as we know, a lot of what happens in the world can be fueled and is fueled by and from this place. Perhaps our fuel is grief. Perhaps our fuel is a sense of joy. Perhaps our fuel is love. It's very interesting just to have a moment to reflect upon what's fueling my life, what's fueling my actions, what's fueling creating this piece of artwork, what's fueling my decisions from day to day. And you might want to take a moment to pop anything that arises for you down in the comments, because I'd be really interested to know what comes through for you as you just allow that question, what's fueling me, to drop in. There is a certain amount of responsibility that happens when we begin to live from our why. It's quite a, not a serious place. I'm not quite sure if it's the right word, but there's a sense of a respect that begins to happen when we get clear about our why. And it requires of us certain things. The first thing, and this is from a Rumi quote, and I think it's absolutely beautiful and very apt, and this quote goes, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment." Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. So cleverness being this place of knowledge and knowing. It's very up here, very much kind of in the head place. And it's quite fixed when we live very much from the head. By bewilderment is opening up to this sense of our innate true nature, our wildness, that's probably been toned down and modified and dimmed and contracted and constricted and restricted, if you like, by the norms of our civilized society. And it's not about a kind of wildness of going off running in the streets barefooted, crazy haired, slobbering away, chewing on some bone. Maybe it is. It's more just simply allowing who you are, and it has that feeling. It's very free. It's allowing this place when you let go of these restrictions that have been placed upon you. It's living more from that place. It's a very soul-fueled place. Living from our why also requires courage, and it requires a sense of resilience. These again feel very much heart muscle places for me, because your why might not make sense to a lot of people who feel like maybe you should be living in a different way, or you're wasting your life. There's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of this sense of competition out there, of not enough, of one-upmanship, of suspicion of people who are living in what seems like a very free kind of way. And essentially what they're doing is staying true and honest to their why for their life. And it's also very inspiring, isn't it, when we see people, a lot of our idols have lived their lives, not necessarily easily or without any pain or suffering, but they've lived from the truth of who they are, and that's kind of why we really admire them and are inspired by them, because they are saying yes to that. This place also requires our humility and our surrender, because essentially what we're doing is going, okay, not my way, but thy way. Yeah, we're listening to something bigger than us that's guiding us. And this place can seem incredibly foolish and bizarre and illogical, and might ask of us to do things or go places that just doesn't make sense. And I'm reminded of Kevin Costner's character in that movie, old movie Field of Dreams, when he is being really called and asked to build this and create this massive baseball field for these dead baseball players. Completely ridiculous, absolutely bonkers. But he does it. There is a faith and a trust within him that propels him to do this, and he does, and then these baseball players come and they play this game, and it's incredibly moving and powerful. We don't know what life will ask of us when we say yes to our why. It will be edgy, absolutely, it will be edgy living in that unknown place, but it'll be exciting and wondrous and full of surprises, and incredibly rich, and it will feel like living from a place of freedom and absolute and utter integrity. And surely that is what all of us really crave to live from and have that experience of in our own lives and for the lives of our loved ones around us. So, looking at your own why, the first thing to do is to check that it is your why. And that sounds really strange, but you might find that the reason that you are pursuing a certain path or going in a certain direction is because that's what's expected of you. Maybe that's what your parents did, or it's gone down from generations, or that's what your culture or society is telling you that you should be doing. So shoulds is a really good way of discovering that perhaps the why that you're following isn't necessarily from your own anchored, embodied truth. When we are connected to our own why, when we feel that absolutely in our body, it gives us this incredible feeling of, as I mentioned before, freedom, excitement, aliveness. For me, it's incredibly delicious. It's very, 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 very pleasurable. I can feel that now. It's a very sensual place to live from, that place of innocence and wonder that I mentioned before. It's very rich. It has incredible substance to it. So it's very much, we can feel if our why has this resonance and truth all the way down through our body. And sometimes there's also this sense of it, we can feel it really pushing us, if you like, something behind us really pushing us into life, really being called forwards. It's almost like we're really behind our whole self. We're bringing all of ourselves towards whatever it is that our why is asking of us. It's an incredibly embodied place to live from. So why not take a few moments, if you want to, you might want to pause this and come back, to explore what is your why behind what it is that you're desiring to create. Take time with this. You might want to sit with a paper and pen and just write a little bit. And be completely honest. If the why for you is to make shitloads of money or to become famous or successful, own that. There's nothing wrong with these places. Own it. Whatever you write down, just go underneath that a little bit more. Why do I want to make shitloads of money? What will that bring? How will that feel like? You might find as you go underneath, and you keep asking this question, you might get to a real nugget of what is your why. For me, with that question of money, so I'm going to be really honest here, of looking at that one for me, the why underneath was actually freedom. The feeling was of feeling free. And that was an incredible surprise to discover. And it means that if I anchor my choices and decisions from this place of feeling this freedom, this sense of freedom in my body, in a way, all the other stuff on top, all this sense of having money and abundance and so on, things like that start to happen anyway, and so much more. So go beneath what your whys are and play with this for as long as you need to. It's a really beautiful inquiry to take on. And as I mentioned right at the beginning, don't just stop, Come back every now and then and come back to that question. What is my why behind doing this? Has it changed? Is there another quality that's come in? Does it have a slightly different perspective or angle or taste or texture or flavour in this moment? And again, please pop in the comments below if you've explored this a little bit. I'd be really curious to know how that was to do that exercise and also what has arisen for you. Just one more thing I'd like to say around why, even though this is a massive topic, and these videos really are just simply an introduction to each of these aspects of being a creative genius, of living a life of creative freedom and joy and love and peacefulness and excitement and spontaneity and surprise and wonder and magic, all these things that I absolutely believe in. When you discover your why, it might feel incredibly personal, incredibly private, very intimate. It could be very touching. And you don't have to speak of it. You don't have to say, this is my why. It might not feel like it needs to be spoken, but it will be felt. If you're clear in your why and you start to anchor and affirm this place more and more in you, whatever you start to create, whatever you begin to do, the resonance in your why will be felt by others. This is why we are touched by and moved by particular kinds of art. We feel that which is in a way unable to be articulated through words. We feel it on a soul level. And for me, that is one of the necessities and vitalities and beauty of why creating your particular art, whatever that is imperative to life. It's needed. And I wonder whether this place, in a way, is a kind of contract, a kind of agreement with God, with spirit, with mystery, a contract to co-create together, to have this dance between you and something bigger for your life. I think that's really an extraordinary possibility, that our why is our yes to spirit moving us in its mysterious ways. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention, and I hope you found something here that perhaps resonated for you or touched you or made you think. Remember, live the questions. If you liked this video, please like it, and if you haven't done so already, it'd be great if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of this series. If you head over to my website, here you'll find information about the creativity coaching that I offer and workshops that are coming up as well, which is very exciting. And also be able to sign up to my mailing list if you haven't done so, and receive immediately your free ebook, 10 Ways to Awaken Your Creative Genius. And I hope to see you again next week, and in the meantime, have a wondrous, wondrous week, and may life surprise you by its beauty. Thank you so much.